Alright, it's the 12th of December and I'm going to do an echinopsis cactus update. And as you see, this is, I believe, probably an oxygona. And after taking off a lot of pups, it's definitely replacing them really quickly. And this is probably even more vigorous pupper. Some of them make tons of pups, like Maria Piazza, and I believe it's because the central part, when it's not growing so actively, there's a lot of energy that can go to the sides. So this guy literally has 9 pups, and as well as its size, just a bit bigger than a golf ball. So you don't really have to have it that much bigger than a golf ball to start making pups. Because for example, this guy's about the same size, could even be slightly bigger, and it's still not making pups quite yet. And here's my apricot paramount, orange, and it's actually starting to swell back up because it's actually finally starting to send in roots that are growing deep. And then I have this one, which is, I believe it's called Rainbow Starburst. It had tons of pups on it, and it's actually trying to make another pup now at the base. After having so many, I think there was 48 of them taken off. This guy's not huge compared to a golf ball, but it's pretty big. But actually had more pup mass than it actually did the main one. Because these are all the pups. And I'm actually noticing a lot of the bigger ones have gotten even bigger. Which means they're actually taking in more moisture and they're starting to grow. Like, for example, right here. There's some new needle formation coming out of the middle. So only in a week you can see visible growth. Because I'm taking a picture and they were not this dense a week ago. Looks like the small ones are not growing quite as fast, so I think that's the reason why it's best to take off pups when they're a little bit bigger. And here are 6 of my apricot paramount. The reason why you want bigger pups is because of survivability rate. Usually the bigger you have them, the more likely they will be to survive. Like this tiny one, there was 2 of them that were exactly this size. This guy has actually grown a little bit. It's probably at least doubled or more in mass. But I mean, it's so hard to get them to root and actually be viable because they have tiny roots. But if you start out with something that's an inch or bigger, like this guy was probably closer to half the size when I took it off, and it's getting close to a golf ball size now. But when it's bigger, it will produce roots a lot more readily, and it won't just get smothered by the dirt when you water it. So yeah, the bigger it is, the better it is off to propagate. Here's some more that I'm growing. Had a lot more last week, but I sold a bunch. And then there's this guy, which is also another apricot paramount orange. And for example, this guy right here, I can take him off right now. This guy is definitely at least an inch in diameter. And all I gotta do is, it's a little prickly, so I can just use a golf ball. Oh yeah. This guy's tough. Sometimes a little bit tough to get off. I just gotta maybe hold it and twist it off. But usually when I take one or a few off, the energy gets sent to other ones. But sometimes they're a little bit hard to work. And this guy is actually more resistant than I thought. Okay, so there we go. As you see, it doesn't really have any roots on it right now, but I'll let it sit around for a while. I'll just let it sit on the side, probably for a few days, let it stabilize, and then once I feel like it's ready, I'll prop it into the ground and let it grow. Initially, if it doesn't have any roots, it might shrivel a little bit. Like these guys are pretty similar size too, so I can just knock them off, pop this one on pretty easily. So sometimes they're pretty easily, but it seems like this type does not. This type does not usually have that many roots. Some of them, like rainbow burst, even at this size, they're gonna have a lot of roots on them. Okay, this one popped off very easily too. And I'll take one more today. And what this will do is, within another week or so, the remaining ones should grow really quickly and get back to the size of these 4. So here's a comparison. So these guys are definitely a pretty decent size. And this guy is looking pretty big too, so I'll take one more off. There we go. So that's 5 pups taken. I'll let this guy recover back and direct the rest of the energy to these, and I like taking them when they're close to about an inch in diameter. And here's a golf ball for reference. So close to about half the diameter of the golf ball, and they're usually just about 100% viable as long as you don't really mess up. You just gotta have good soil and put them in good sun, and usually within 2 weeks or so they should have roots. But yeah, and growing them after a month or two, yeah, after about 2 months from that size, they usually get to about golf ball size, just like these.